Hi, my name is Shawn Shaler. That guy up there is my friend Chris Ford, aka the Objective Geek of YouTube and Twitter. And hey, oh, I see what you. Yeah, we forgot.
Yeah.
What a mistake. But you timed. Hey, you timed your spin this time. You timed it very well. Well, I'm sorry,
We're
but
good.
the day of the Colossus has passed.
It did. The thing
Uh,
is, I was thinking to myself, like, I wish I had a Colossus action figure. And then I forgot that I do have a Colossus
yeah, he
figure.
looks great too. He's got a great sheen to
No,
him.
it's very chrome. Very, very chrome. Like,
I feel
there we go.
I
Nope.
feel bad for Colossus because my only association with him really is Deadpool, which is not like a
And
fair
that's
picture
a
of
terrible. That's
character.
like
Yeah,
the
that's
but he was also in X-Men The Last Stand. Get it? The Last Stand. We're reviewing
I do now, but I
the
was
last.
actually just trying to think. I was like, I can't remember him. No, I get it now. Hey, that was a nice segue, Chris. But we can't do the segue because we promised all of our viewers that we would save whatever our news was last week for this week, and that news is just that next week we're gonna see John Mulaney. That's pretty exciting. On the 23rd, I believe.
Is it 23rd? Okay.
I think it's 23rd. Friday or
Yeah.
Saturday. I don't know. Heather's got it in her calendar. But the point is, we were saying for
I, I,
years.
I hope I hope you have the tickets, Sean.
Got an email from the theater, which I think is outdoors.
Nah, it's at the
Starlight
the
Theater.
it's the Starlight Theater can't actually be
I
outdoors.
don't know. I know I sound terrible. I live in Kansas City. That's if you people out there
There's
know.
no
I
way that
live
they
here.
would have an outdoor that no, Sean, it's indoors.
I don't know. But
It's
anyway,
indoors.
we're gonna go see him, and because we've been saying for years, if he came by, we'd go see him, and now he's here. And provided no like random life hiccups that occasionally he has, I'm very excited. I've been listening to all of his old stuff all week, which is kind of weird for comedy. You know, like if you go into a concert and you'd like listen to that group's music to like get you hyped up, but you're not gonna hear any of the old comedy at the current
Yeah.
show. So I don't know, maybe that's a
I
good thing.
mean, yeah, and even like movie wise, like I've been watching some of the recent Thor movies because the new Thor comes out tomorrow or tonight. And like even that, sure, it's a new story, but like it's a kind of continuing story. But yeah, comedy wise, it's like he's not gonna carry over a bit
Yeah,
from
that's not. There's
from
not a lot of like.
New in Town or Kid Gorgeous or whatever. The
I bet the comedians that do that probably hate it. Like I'm thinking of like Jim Gaffigan in the Hot Pockets. He's like, I just put on like 55 minutes of like material I worked really hard on, and y'all want to hear about some damn
uh,
Hot Pockets. So I bet comedians that do that aren't.
Aziz Ansari had one because he has those jokes about R. Kelly, which are hilarious.
Now
Uh,
even more
but
hilarious.
but then he had one afterwards. Was like, I was doing these R. Kelly jokes, and R. Kelly was it's a pedophile, and look at me, stupid doing R. Kelly jokes, talking about. But
uh, I, yeah, every time I can think of those jokes that are like callbacks, I just it's either really campy stuff or stuff that I genuinely believe the comedian only does because people expect it. So, you know
mm,
what, John Mulaney, I have nothing that I want you to call back. You do you, and don't do drugs, kids, or John Mulaney, whatever.
it'll be really interesting. Like, cause this will be his probably his fourth stand up. Well, okay, wait, no, he's done. Actually, I'm not. What am I thinking? This isn't like part of some. I mean, it could be part of a special, but I'm sure they're not gonna let us record. And
It's
anyway,
yeah, and
uh,
I don't really know the rules for as much stand-up comedy as I quasi pay attention to. I don't really know
like the editing will be different. Like it
yeah.
won't. Like it'll probably be a lot more pauses and stuff in between. And oh, it'll be interesting. It'll be an interesting experience.
I've only been to a big comedy show that had that was like for a special one time, and it was Gabriel Iglesias. Uh, and the pacing was much different than you would
Yeah.
expect. but not even in a way that was really that distracting. Like it just felt more like a normal conversation that you were having with a normal person rather than like choppy, quick 60 minutes jam packed with some commercials and a Netflix special, you know? So it wasn't uncomfortable at all. But
Hmm.
anyway, I'm stoked to go up there. So that'll be
Yeah,
next week, and we will have some kind of episode that we've recorded. Who knows what kind of episode, Chris? Who knows what? Probably about
that is true.
Big Brother or Lego or I don't know. First two things came to my mind for some reason. But yeah, I don't know. That's a weird choice on my part. But before we go to John Mulaney, let's talk about The Legend of Korra, Book 4, Change, Chapter 13, The Last Stand, which is the finale of The Legend of
Yes,
Korra and chronologically all things Avatar that I am aware of outside of comics I've never read
and yeah,
for now.
yeah, it's. Yeah. So we pick up where we left off, but this time Team Avatar has been able to make it inside of the Colossus because that's its name.
It
Its
is
name
now.
is the Colossus. That's what we're calling it. Um,
It's a
so they
cool
get inside
name.
the mech. There's sort of like three different goals here, right? So they get in. Bolin, oh, sorry. Bolin and Mako are responsible for like taking out his core. Suyin and Lin are responsible for taking out the spirit gun, and Korra is to take out Kuvira. So it's really good. Like, all right, all three of these things are pretty important. Like this weapon is too powerful, and we had to dismantle. So, but even taking out Kuvira, I think wouldn't solve the issue at hand. Like the weapon itself needs to be destroyed. And also, it's like, all right, one of us might fail, but if we can at least get rid of the gun, that would be helpful. Or if we can at least blow it up from the middle, that would be helpful. Or if we can at least take out Kuvira, that would be helpful. But all in all, they have three different goals. So let's first off with the Mako and Bolin. Same with the episode previous to this. There's so much action in here. There's not much story really until I think the end, and there's like just so much story at the end there. But we have Mako and Bolin, and they fight the guys off, and then there's a really great brother moment here where they're like, oh, they do the double switch things, turn the keys, and like it's not working because of some plot reason, which is fine. Like, oh, it's not working. Kuvira must have did some override shift key thing.
It's not the
Okay,
first or last time that we'll witness that in a form of media.
yeah, that's fine. And then Bolin just like, hey, like it just reacts weird to it when like it's overcharged or something. And Michael's like, all right, I got an idea. And Bolin is like, listen, like, don't you don't have to be a hero. Like get it, you're a hero, Mako. Don't do it. But Mako is persistent that he'll do it. And there's a really great moment of him starring the lightning and everything. Um, there's a
I love
weird
the lightning
thing.
charge up.
Yeah, it's done so good. The music is also really, really good. Um, there's a Jeremy's not Jeremy's like Brian was saying like Jeremy's like was sort of mirroring what he did with the last Agni Kai a little bit there, where he was like he toned it down a little bit. But there's also a song that's like I'm sure that's not the case here, but if you listen to it, it sounds like that song of like everybody wants to rule the world. It's like dun, 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 dun. Like that's what it reminds me of, but then it tears off into something completely else. For some reason, like how movie trailers sometimes use songs that completely do not show up in the movie and does not match its tone.
Just a
Like
catchy
I could
riff.
see, like if someone did that to this, like I think one thing it would work because it's like everybody wants to rule the world. It'll go along with the with the last episode because Kuvira wants to pretty much rule,
It
not the
makes
world, but
me
she wants to rule like 70 like percent of the landmass of
it
the
makes
world.
me think of when Halo first came out. Chris, I don't know if you remember those commercials, but they were like super serious. Like you thought you were gonna be watching some like end of times, like I can't even describe it, just super dark, serious things. And then as soon as you turn on the game, right, you get these. I'm embarrassed myself because I can't remember what they're. But the base bad guy enemies are like these clown noise making little squeak monsters that it's like a damn comedy. And I just remember that was like a lot of people's initial reactions, like, yeah, it didn't really feel like the commercial made it feel. I thought the
um,
commercial was gonna be like, the end of the world.
yeah, but man, the animation in that scene with Mako and electricity is just so like it is. There's a scene where it's close up on his eye, and there's just electricity going all around, and then his shirt rips. Uh, it it rivals animation and anime. Like it reminds me of something out of like My Hero Academia. The animation is so great. Like it's crazy on the show. But speaking of which, so Brian throughout this whole entire I'll listen to commentary and throughout this whole entire thing, Brian is like he's like just applauding. Is like, man, this animation is so beautiful. And he's like, guys, I know that I'm all the time like, oh, animation's hard, guys. He's making fun of himself, but it's like it really is hard, guys. like like this stuff is not done on a television scale like with ever. Like it's this stuff is, and it's funny because I don't think he's patting himself on the back. Usually he's never patting himself really on the back, but I think because he's not in there doing the anime. Like they're sending it out to Studio Mirror, and a lot of times he is um, like patting on the back the storyboard artists like Joaquin Dos Santos or Lauren Montgomery, who both of those people have gone on to do like I think Lauren Montgomery is going to be directing the Kyoshi movie.
Oh, nice.
It's funny because yeah, she's also directing Into the Spider-Verse 2, I believe. Uh, it's funny because at the end of the commentary, like both Joaquin Dos Santos, it's on the commentary is Joaquin Dos Santos, Lauren Montgomery, Bryan, and Mike, and both Joaquin and Lauren are like, thank you for like you pretty much made our careers. And Bryan's like, no, you guys made your own careers. Like you guys will go on to do like great stuff. And it's just interesting just how they have gone on to do like great. Like Joaquin Dos Santos went on to do Voltron, which is pretty successful. Lauren, like I've mentioned, is doing Mace Spider-Verse 2. And I think Joaquin is coming back in that for Avatar Studios. It's interesting. I don't know. One thing I've been thinking a lot about leadership, what type of leader I'm going to be like in my career and stuff. And Bryan, and they oftentimes whenever they have someone else on, they're always like, "Well, Bryan, you created an environment that was like conducive to us, to giving us power and responsibility, and having faith in us. Like that's why we turned out like great stuff. We wanted to do that. Like you empowered us to do those things." And not just Bryan, Mike also.
Actually
Speaking of
got to
which,
fill their portfolios rather than like just serving people coffee and occasionally spitting out ideas. Like actually got to
yeah,
add.
it's funny because they're talking about story, and then they're talking about how like how much evolved story wise the animators are. Um, because Bryan was like, we changed the story or my story on a lot of these things. Like we will go to storyboard artists because they're telling the story also, and they're also like, that's not always the case on TV shows. They're saying like with sitcom cartoons, they've worked on probably things like King of the Hill or Family Guy. It's like oftentimes animators can't even talk to the writers. like it's like you can't talk to them. Like you're not a writer.
That's
But that,
strange and old fashioned sounding.
yeah, but that wasn't the case here. Um, quick, I'm just checking because I wrote notes in our chat. Well, am I still on this call? Yes, I am. Okay. So this episode turns out Branson's crew. You guys don't realize. Okay. Anyhow, wait, no, just go back to the meeting. Where's the meeting? There we go. Nope, still. Here we go. Now
Guess
I'm
you're
back.
still on mute. You're still
Um,
on mute. No, I'm just kidding.
I said I'm not on mute. I never muted
Just trying to
myself.
think of the most work from home
Um,
thing I could say.
oh yeah. You know what I mean? It's like, gosh, guys, it's been 2 years.
At least.
Figure it
At
out.
least.
Oh, I'm sorry, I was on mute. Like, it's,
If you
you
stay
should
on
know.
teams, I forget there's a control combination or like spacebar. Like if you stay active on teams, spacebar, mute, unmute, mute, unmute. I
Hmm.
actually have a headset specifically with a physical switch. Just
Oh yeah,
I don't know why, but
got a
do it.
walkie-talkie radio.
Over every single time. They hate it when I say it, but you
Performance is down year over year. Over.
know.
Uh,
Best way to give a
anyway,
presentation.
so yeah, Mako gets like shot back by the lightning, and Bolin goes back and saves him, pulls him out. So on the other part of it, so um, Suyin and Lin are having to dis. I'm not even going off your notes. I'm just gonna.
That's
I'll
fine.
get back to some of
Well, and
it.
there's too
Uh,
much. There's too many parallels going on in this episode for chronological notes to be terribly helpful. Anyways.
yeah. Uh, real quick, Suyin and Lin are trying to dismantle the spirit arm, and they do. There's one little moment that I just really love, right? Like Kuvira, like after they dismantle the arm's useless, or they dismantle just the cannon. And Kuvira is pretty much mashed. Like this, it's useless now, and she takes the whole arm off, even though she didn't need to. She didn't need to take off
It
any of it,
wasn't
really.
right.
It
It
just
wasn't like it was hurting a hole.
yeah, it's just like just carrying an empty gun essentially. But anyway, she rips her arm and she throws it, and there's a really quick scene where uh, Lynn is Lynn Suyin is like knocked out, and Lynn is like barely conscious, and she metal bends Lynn to the like she pretty much fastens her to the metal thing, and then she fastens herself, and then they get thrown like hundreds of yards out the way. Just a really quick scene. Also, just in this episode, in the previous episode, I love so much of the teamwork aspects of it. There's like so many great little animation done real quick. Like there's a scene where Wei and Wen, Suyin's twins, are like falling, and then like you see Suyin and you see Lin, and the Lin goes and catches them. But there's also rubble falling on top of them, and the Suyin lands in time to like shield them from it. And it's just really cool to see them working in tandem together. I love team bending battles, really good. So that's essentially that plot. They dismantle the arm, and Kuvira, just tosses it over. That won't be a big deal later into like a forest or a park, something. Spirit Wilds, that's what it is. She tosses it over to the Spirit Wilds. Psh, not important. Uh,
Minor
so
detail.
then, yeah, so then the big fight is Kuvira versus Korra, and great fight, great animation, great uh, just creativity. I think with the bending, especially there's that scene where like Kuvira like pins Korra to the wall, and then she like rips her across the room with the metal bending. It was just a really interesting way and looked violent. Like can openers freak me out a little bit because I feel like I'm gonna cut myself on a can opener one day, and that's what it reminded me
It had
of.
a very like I don't know if that's a good word to describe it, but like the first word that comes to my mind is it had like a heavy impact to it, like a heavier weight or a heavier force to that animation for whatever reason.
Yeah. Um, Also, one I kind of miss. I don't know why. Maybe it's been a while since I watched Avatar. Um, But I thought that just the fight movement choreography was really good. Like, holy crap, Korra does. I've got to watch now. Korra, she's like just like straight up in her fighting stance. Like I love, like sure, like this Legend of Korra took more of an approach of like of mixed martial artists when it came to fighting, but I think it really works a lot of times because like I know how to. I'm familiar with the movements of fighting, of real world fighting, of like, all right, duck, boom, bob, weave. Like Korra doing a little bit of that, but she's also doing martial arts. She does this one move where she bends at Kuvira, and then I don't know what you call it. I feel like I don't know what it's called, but she does like an arm bar. It's a leg lock arm bar almost, and like pulls Kuvira back. Like Korra's trained in hand-to-hand fighting, I think probably more than any character. I can't think of another character who's trained better at hand-to-hand fighting than Korra. Um,
When I
like just fists. Like you don't see that many people just fighting with like just fists. It's interesting because she can bend any element and also a couple of different sub elements. And but she's also just no, I'm just gonna use my hands.
even if you miss these elephants, you gonna catch these hands. No, and I like
Yeah.
that they've built it up in her story too. Like along the way, we can see the evidence, the places where she's acquired that to some degree. And I like that
Yeah.
it's not just a random physical attribute that she happens to have. Like we've
Yep.
seen it in several arena style fights and pro bending and like those places where that's been exercised.
Yeah. And so they end the fight with it's pretty much a draw. They both kind of bend at each other and gets knocked out. And then right at that moment, the whole thing explodes because of Mako and Bowen. And but I feel like Korra is pretty much like if, if I had to be like, all right, who won this fight? I would say Korra just because she's the first one to get up and she's the one like carrying Kuvira out of the mech suit. But that's like all the action in the episode.
It does kind of turn to the next half, second half, the episode.
Yeah, it's funny because that ends at like the 8 minute mark of the episode. So it's like I don't know, all talking and stuff, which is really cool. Anyway, so Kuvira Korra tells her like, "Hey, it's over." Like, and Kuvira does not giving up. There's a scene that I just kind of crack up laughing when Korra when they first got the mech suit. Korra's carrying around. She sets her down. She's of course like, "Listen, you have to give up." And before Korra can finish her sentence, Kuvira like throws a rock at her face, then runs away. I just found that
It
to
was
be funny.
it kind of caught me off guard in an amusing way.
Yeah. Um, so Kuvira runs away. Korra chases her, and then like she runs away into the spirit wilds. And then right when Korra gets in there, just a big old gun just facing her down. And uh, and then and then starts one of my absolute favorite moments of the show. This is what I did my one legendary moment about, and it is all surrounding Korra saving Kuvira from a spirit gun. Um, Pretty much, you want to go watch that video for me to in depth explain everything why I love it. Um, but so Kuvira has a big old gun, and it just happens to have like this nice trigger already there. Um, and she aims it at Korra, and then the spirit gun goes goes crazy, goes wild, and it's using all the spirit energy from all the surrounding vines. So it's pretty much like unstoppable at this point. And then even Korra's like, you have to stop it. Kuvira's like, I'm trying to. Like she can't get it stopped. It's already like it's just overloading with all that spirit energy. And then Kuvira falls. And I will say I fully expected Kuvira to die, right? Because oftentimes we see die because of their own hubris, all right? Like this is Kuvira's doing. This is she was her own downfall. And man, just so beautiful. I mean, when there's such a great scene where Queers falls off and she looks up and she's just like, there's like a oh crap, like I'm about to die type of deal. Have you ever been in a moment where you thought you're about to die, Sean?
I have, yeah. Um,
Like,
do you
oh,
care
we're
to?
about to get.
No, do you care to
I
hear
hope you
about it?
were. Well, I know I do, but I hope it's not like a very dramatic story. You don't have to share it. If it's
No,
like, oh, this guy held me up at gunpoint
no,
and
it's not
and
quite
I
like
and
that.
I crapped my
It's
pants.
um, no, this is very how do I say? This is like a first world person way to about die. No, it's on our
Okay.
honeymoon, and we went like whitewater rafting in Costa Rica. And just we just like hit a bad bump, and then I fell out, and they're just like, oh, you just stay calm and you like float down the river until you can like safely swim at a calm spot. First of all, I don't like water. We established like 2 weeks ago. We established I'm not a great swimmer. But they just like, hey, just you cross your arms and just lay flat and just float down the river until it comes a point where you can like safely like just float and swim to the side or whatever. Got life vest, helmets,
Yeah.
everything. But I was floating,
Oh, okay.
and there was just like a little drop off, which I'm not really paying attention. I'm just doing what I'm supposed to. But instead of like
Yeah.
dropping off, there was like a branch there, so I kind of got stuck behind a branch, but with all the water
Oh,
like rushing
crap.
behind me.
Yeah.
So it just like it was kind of like a constant state of feeling like I was almost gonna drown. Like I could breathe
Uh-huh.
some most of the time, but then like a big wave of water would just like come crashing over my head.
Like getting
Um,
waterboarded. Not that you know how that feels, but
I would say less torturous than like, well, I don't want it to mean like the psychological torture of waterboarding. And then I also found
well,
that if I put my head down, it would protect, like I wouldn't breathe in as much water. So I like putting my head down when I was like thinking, and people are hollering and shit over there. Um,
mm,
but at least like I could breathe here. And then I just had to like I mean I don't know how to describe like pounds of pressure. I'm not a physics guy, but like I had to like wiggle just like centimeter by centimeter, just to like wiggle
oh
myself
yeah.
over to
Wow,
be
that's a lot.
but then at the bottom of that, like after I did manage to get out, it was just like a little more floating until there was like a calm like a calm space for me to like get back in the boat. But like there was a few minutes, I'm gonna say 2 to 3 minutes of like solid terror of like first not breathe, second all right, and now I can actually breathe. How do I like
Mm.
wriggle myself free while everybody's like yelling and screaming at me? Like, all right, not helping. Like, give me a minute. Let me work this out. But no, that's terrifying. Absolutely. It was a honeymoon. September
Wow,
25th,
that
2012.
recently when I came back from Tulsa, this wasn't a near death experience. It's just I was driving stupid uh, because you're driving on the two-way highway and you got to pass
Yeah.
somebody up.
Hmm?
I miss and you try to size it up, right? Like, all right, well, I have this much time
I
to pass
hate
them up
doing it
before a
so much,
car.
man. Yeah.
I hate doing it. But the last time, so I went to Tulsa previously. The time before that, I went to Tulsa over 4th of July. But before previous time before that, which was like a couple weeks ago, I miss timed it, and I was sort of in the point of no return. And so I'm like, oh crap, I gotta drive really, really fast. Like I got up to like 100 miles an hour. And then I got over I got over in enough time to not even it be a thing. But if I think about it in terms of seconds, I was probably 5 seconds from a head-on collision of
Like,
of high highs.
I'd like to know in like terms of miles an hour. Like you had to hit 100 to make that work. It was like what if you were just at 70 or like whatever. Like
Yeah.
the, I know exactly what you mean. You hit that point where
Mhm.
like if I don't gas it, I'm gonna die. So
Yeah. And I don't even think about like I didn't even look at the speedometer until I was over it
no, you
because
just
I'm just like, all
punch.
right, I
Yeah.
just yeah, you just punch and then you get over it.
Chris, does your car have
Um,
an econ mode button?
it does, but I just keep it at the. I don't. Oh gosh, if I had an econ. Oh crap.
I no, mine's on by default, right? But one time I specifically, and it felt really dramatic. It felt like I thought I was in a movie or something. But I like turned the econ button off to gas it.
Just yeah, yeah. That was not a near death. That I did not think death was on its way. I just afterwards I thought to myself, I need to slow down. Like that was like I was just like 5 or 10 seconds. Like if the other car in front of me was just like, oh, I don't want to slow down.
You're on the
Like
road for a
anyway,
long time by yourself. though. Like I get why that happens.
Yeah.
I get it.
But the other time, well, so anyway, that's not important. Um, they were really relevant. But I was in a car wreck before, right? Highway on like Highway 70 going to KC, and there's construction interstate, and it goes down to like two lanes because it's a three-way, and it goes down to two lanes. Someone apparently back did not see that we were in construction, and I'm driving, and I just see in my rearview mirror this white Tahoe. Like we all have gone down to like having about 15 miles an hour. That's how bad the construction is. And this Tahoe didn't see it apparently. And all I see is this Tahoe coming in, swerving. And I'm just looking to my wife. Like the same look that Kuvira gives to Spirit Cannon. And I'm just like, holy crap, this is death right here. Like this is death knocking. Um, Luckily, the Tahoe and there was a car behind me. The Tahoe hits the car behind me, elevates. I see it go airborne. It then lands on the back. It jumps over the car behind us, lands on the back of our car, and then we hit the car in front of us. And like no one was hurt. Although I did think the driver of the Tahoe was dying because the his when I got out of my car, his car was upside down with like he almost
Compressed or
looked
whatever.
pinned. Yeah, it was compressed to the window. He was just screaming. And he had the Alabama ads. Oh, I think we talked about this before. He had the Louisiana ads, and it's like, oh God, oh God, oh. It's
You've
not. I
talked
mean,
to
it's
me about
funny
it. I don't know
now.
if it's come up on the show before, but you've talked to me about it because I
Yeah.
specifically
Okay.
remember the Alabama accent.
What is it? Uh.
Let's
But yeah. Anyway,
terrify me
I
because
thought
you're like,
death
there's
was.
nothing you can do, and you're just like, I guess this might as well
Yeah.
happen.
There's nothing. Uh. The thing is, I called his insurance later when I had information, and I tried to explain it to her. She was like, "No, this is too much. Like, this is a 4 or 5 person car pileup. Like, we need like police reports and stuff like that." But
And you're like, okay, that will be obtainable.
yeah. Uh. Anyway, that's I understand what Kuvira is feeling of. Like, yeah, that's death coming
The
right
pure
now, knocking at the door.
adrenaline kick, like we've all been there at some point.
Yeah.
It's freaky, not a fun experience.
Right. But Korra jumps right in front of the spirit cannon, and oh man, the animation is beautiful. Just the spirit energy cascading off of her, the music swelling up, like everything just coming together. I think it's just so beautifully and perfectly. Um, and yeah, she ends up saving Kuvira. And I do want to say, so Mike had said, not Mike, Brian. Why do I keep doing this? Brian said in the commentary, it was like he felt like in this whole entire spiritual journey of Korra throughout all the seasons, this was her crowning achievement that she saved a villain by using her own spiritual energy to block the spirit energy. Oh, he put it in a much better way that I'm paraphrasing here, but great moment. And then it ends up creating a new spirit port. Wait, it's not called a spirit portal. Wait, is it called a? Yeah,
It feels like they call it a spirit portal, do they not?
I don't know why that doesn't sound, but yeah, spirit portal.
You know when you
Portal.
say
New
like Ted
spirit portal.
Lasso, when you say something too many times, it starts to lose all
Yeah, it does.
meaning.
It loses meaning. Yeah.
Spirit portal. Spirit.
um,
First, I was thinking about not
spirit portal.
sleeping. Then I was thinking about not sleeping. Oh yeah, that's bad.
uh, there's a have you there's a clip of this football coach who's like the real life Ted Lasso. I mean, they didn't. It wasn't inspired by him, but he has these quotes and sayings that
Is
just
it the
sounds like
Division 3 football coach that
so.
says just all the funny, weird? He's like D3,
Yeah,
not even D2.
yeah.
I remember exactly who you're talking about. He talks about it's like I
Uh,
want to put my kids on a depth chart, but Mrs. Brown didn't like that, or something. Like all sorts of
yeah,
random stuff. Yes, I
yeah.
have.
Okay. Um, anyway, yeah, it's a creating a new spirit portal, and they get kind of lost in it. And then pretty much the battle's over, and everyone's like, "Where the heck are they?"
Yeah, if you think from
And
the perspective of a Republic City citizen, like you just watched the apocalypse like happen outside of your door, and it's just gone. Like,
so they're looking for Korra. Kuvira's men, are, henchmen and people, are looking for Kuvira. And there's a really cool scene that they do with Korra that mimics into. It's sort of in this. I don't want to say it's not an astral plane, but sort of like the in between of uh, it. Actually, I would call it Korra's astral plane, or at least that's how she's foreseeing it. Because in an episode Origins in season 2, that's how she sort of talks to her past lives, right? It's like her standing there, but this time you see Kuvira standing there, and it's just to indicate just that these two are like mirror people of each other, and they have like a very very nice chat in the spirit world between Kuvira and Korra. Kuvira's like, you were gone, so you didn't want to step up. I had to be the one to step up. Like, you don't know anything about this. Like, the Avatar's adored by millions of people. I think the core is also like not respected by so many
she's
people.
pretty much the most hated avatar that we are aware of,
Mhm. Yeah, in universe. Oh yeah, probably in universe and
except for Avatar Zito and all the people whose
yeah.
taxes he filed.
um.
I owe how
Oh, but
much?
there's also a great scene. Like when they land, Korra lands first, and Kuvira's still knocked out, and Korra catches her before she like falls to the ground. It's just really shown passion that Korra has. Like season 1 Korra, first of all, would not save Kuvira. She also would not catch her. She'll just let her fall. Like it's such good character growth there. But also just the imagery of Korra holding Kuvira like you would hold uh, a cherished loved one or someone you care about.
Yeah, like even if I save her, like I'm gonna drag her around by the scruff of her neck. I'm gonna make sure
Yeah,
everybody knows this is very begrudging.
yeah. And there's even a moment there where Kuvira, I feel like feels safe in the arms, and she's not sure whose arms it is. And then she looks up, and she even pauses, I feel like, for a minute there. But then, like, it comes back to her, like, oh, this is Korra. Like,
Ew, gross.
yeah. There's a lot of people, and one day we'll get to our shipping episode of Legend of Korra. There's a lot of people who ship Korra and Kuvira, and I'm like, you know what? I'm not. I don't know how I feel about that ship yet, but I get it. I
I would
understand.
feel
They're
better
almost.
about ships if I didn't love Korosami so much. Like it's only an interesting ship if the alternatives, aren't
Mm,
better. I
yeah.
don't know.
But like, I think it's funny. So Big Brother recently. Fun we talked about.
Oh, I
You know
told
how
you we
they
were gonna talk
they
about Big Brother next week.
yeah. Well, there was a this gay couple, these two guys, and they both looked the same. like like they're both like dorky white guys with like blonde hair with rounded circle glasses.
You think that would be
And
unsettling to some degree?
yeah, I'm like, I don't see that often. Like, I don't see often where I feel like there's two people in a couple and they just look
Well, think about
the
the number of people
same.
you see that look like you, and then be like, all right, and so then what are the odds that they are both homosexuals, and then also the odds they are
Mhm.
attracted to each other? Like, that's a very.
and
The odds aren't good.
like I didn't. It's stupid to say like, oh, I don't like the parent. It just was weird to me that they looked exactly. They didn't look exactly the same. Also, I didn't get like that great of look. It's just tangentially they looked.
As I say, uncanny would
They looked
definitely say like
vaguely. Yeah, they looked vaguely. They gave off the same like look.
if
So
if how I
speaking of
react to
Korra,
myself in the mirror is any indication of how I would react to a person who looked like me, that's not gonna happen. I'm not gonna shit myself with that person.
I mean, sometimes my wife is like, "Oh, you look." Like she'll give me a compliment. She's like, you look, nice. I'm like, thanks. I just think I just look like a regular dude. But like, um,
Sometimes.
anyway, my point.
No, it's too late. I already started. I will sometimes, like, straight up, like, I'll wait for my wife to, like, come around, like, when I know if I'm finishing up in the bathroom before bed and I know she's heading in. I'll, like, wait for her to come in, and then I'll pretend like I was, like, flexing in the mirror and stuff. I'm like, oh, sorry, here, I'll get it. And it's a very small bathroom, so I'll, like, make a point to, like, make her squeeze past me on the way out. And I don't know why. I think it's hilarious. She really doesn't think it's that funny.
It's funny.
To
Um,
me, it is.
oh, but the thing that has to do with Korra and Kuvira is that those two are like too much alike, especially just character wise, because Kuvira is essentially Korra from book one. Look wise, they don't look that much alike. Um, I mean, there are some cases
I
where
mean, in terms of, like,
they've played
physical
around with it a little bit.
stature, maybe some comps there, I suppose. Yeah.
Yeah. But I'm not sure if I would ship. I wouldn't sink it. I'd either float it
I'll float it. I'm not gonna.
or is it?
But I only like
Yeah,
to.
I'm not sure yet.
I don't like to dual ship, and I like Coruscant too much, so I'll just float that.
Yeah. Um, but I do think it has I don't know some basis there. It has some little good moments. Um, so anyway, so Cora and Kuvira are talking, and Cora is essentially saying like I now understand why I had to go through all that suffering I went through so I can have. Oh no, she says that to sorry, she says that to Tenzin later on. Um, but in this moment, they just kind of come together and they talk about their similarities, and Korra is just empathizing with Kuvira. And it's just to show that like empathy and understanding are some of the most vital traits to have. Like isn't being physically strong isn't as important as it is just to be a good human being.
Being truly empathetic or truly merciful sounds like the wrong word. I'm not sure if I can. Compassionate, maybe, is the word I'm looking for.
Yeah,
Like, to sort of do it truly, you kind of have to know that it's going to burn you a few times. Like, they're not all going to be happy endings. Sometimes it's going to get the short end of the stick.
yeah,
But the idea of, like, being compassionate is like you keep doing it anyway because you know it's the right thing to do. And yeah, every once in a while it's going to screw you over. And that's what makes it hard. Yeah.
yeah. Uh, anyway, they have a really good talk, and then they come out, and then Kuvira's men surround him. They're like, hand over Kuvira. And Kuvira's like, stand down. Like, the Avatar's power is beyond anything I could hope to achieve. Like, it's also just a interesting way for her to phrase that. Like, the Korra's villains, like Zahir and Kuvira, come to realize just like Korra is like one of the most powerful in the world. And they kind of come to that conclusion after facing her.
It,
Um,
it feels like they should have just talked to the last one, like, hey, this is a bad idea. Oh, thanks, I hear.
I don't, if I was Kuvira, I'll also be like a little cocky, like, hey, she's dealing with a lot of like physical and mental things. I think I can take her.
It's worth a shot. Let's bank on
Yeah,
this.
yeah. Sorry, because the two previous villains, Amon and Unalaq, died. I think she still doesn't actually. I mean, she still doesn't know that Amon was killed. But
Oh,
uh, yeah, they still have no idea what happened. Anyway, so then that's the it of the conflict, and then it opens up with a wedding. Varric and Julie get married, and Bolin don't know when he got certified, but he is the
probably took one of those
yeah,
internet things, the quickies.
yeah, yeah. He probably just went down to city council and
Yeah.
got a quick dilly, whatever you
Quasi
call it.
related, my wife just texted me from bed to ask me to make sure. I think she must have overheard us to make sure I had the John Mulaney tickets in my email. I do. I just want to verify that. And parking also.
Oh, in parking.
And
Okay.
parking.
Uh, What's that? Oh, so then it goes to the party, to the wedding party, and there's a few little callbacks and stuff. One thing, so there are, I know it's in this recording, there are flower men sort of like throwing the flowers, but they're dressed as Nuktuk, and they're like above throwing the flowers on to Julie and Varric. Also, see the return of those like dumb, so dumb out there. I thought they were corrupt police, but they're just dumb.
Yeah, they were just regular dumb.
Yeah. And then also, I think his name's Tano, who Rami Malik plays. He's in the band, playing in the band, and the rest of the wolf bats. Um, it's kind of sad. Lynn doesn't have like a great like ending moment. I mean, this season wasn't like wait, this season what happened? This she wasn't like that big this season.
No, but
So
that's fine, right? Because she
yeah, she
wasn't
was
integral this season outside of the relationship to Kavira.
yeah yeah.
I agree
Yeah.
with that.
No, I get it. I'm okay with it too. I'm just seeing her right now, and I just really like that character. I could have probably used a little more of that.
That's
And
fair.
then Suyin also. Oh, one thing I didn't like, Suyin was like, "You're gonna pay for everything you've done, Kuvir." And like, you're a little harsh. I mean, you're. Although honestly, I get it. You just could be a little bit more
What
empathetic,
if
like
she just
Korra.
meant fiscally? Like, you're going to be fined to the full extent of the damages for all of what you've done. Hope you can cover that.
Yeah. Uh. Oh wait, I'm supposed to be facing this way. There we go. The and then Mako and Prince Wu have a talk. Prince Wu was like, I might try democracy and have the states be independent. So that sounds great and all, but like, so
That's
now are
kind of
there
where they
like gonna
came from, almost. Like, it wasn't a democracy, but like, independent makes it sound like fend for themselves a little bit.
yeah, like imagine if the United States was like, you know what, everyone should be independent, and then we got into like a war. Like, well, what the heck do we do? Like some states would be like, we're not gonna fight, we're not gonna provide
Which,
stuff
like, through the
to
history, right? We all watched Game of
uh,
Thrones, you know?
yeah, but also I feel like that's how is that how things were when the first 13 colonies were? Like some states are just like, eh,
No, I think it
we
was
don't want
absolutely the case. Is like
to.
I don't know which one's which, but it's like, we're not gonna fight back. Like, are you nuts?
So like there has to be like still one head of government, or you're not a nation. You're a bunch of small nations. Um,
Just a bunch of small
and
nations
you'll
paying
be.
protection fees to some oversight gang.
But I'm curious, how they never really. I mean, they said they'll be in the comic books. They pretty much are going to have head of states for every single kind of region or whatever. But like, what happens to that central powers? There's just no central
There's got to be
power.
some
I guess
force.
right now
There's got to be some
there
kind of
is.
network.
Yeah. And then so the Fire Nation gonna be like, oh, you know what?
I
This
wonder
little
if we have
part.
like any Canadians that listen to us and be like, those idiots think they need central power. Some Saskatchewans listening to us and
Wait,
just
dude,
laughing at us.
there's a Prime Minister of Canada.
I don't know to what extent the federal involvement is. I do believe it's lesser, but I think it's probably more like closer to what you and I are suggesting in this fictional universe than it is to like not present whatsoever.
Yeah.
But it's quite a bit less. I feel like.
Interesting.
Don't quote me on it. Hey, Canadian viewers, let me know how far off I am. I would love to learn Saskatchewanese.
Um. So anyway, and then Mako and Korra have a nice little moment together, kind of just cementing their friendship.
That's it. Nothing
Um.
else.
Yeah. That's it. Although the Avatar's theme music does kind of come up a little bit, but then also there's a great moment between Korra and Tenzin. I think it's interesting because Korra says like, I really just think, I've learned so much, but I really just think my story, like I'm just beginning. And she is. She's like 22. Like, think about how much she's accomplished also at 22. She's faced a lot of
The oldest
threats.
player in
And
the league. What a
yeah,
legend.
and just for any Aang fans, yes, Aang also accomplished a great deal at 13. A great, great deal. Just wanna.
tossing it out there, being fair.
Uh,
Uh,
Um,
oh, I'm sorry. Go
and
ahead.
then so my point was like chorus, like I feel like I'm just beginning, which makes me think about, hey, we're getting a Korra movie soon, so that should be, just those two thoughts together. It just got me a little bit excited, I guess.
This got me excited. Although I hope it's not full of romantic drama. Can we just have a movie where Korasami just like live together, all happy and
Yeah.
a happy family and
Uh,
no romance?
so
Well, lots
I
of
was thinking
romance
about this.
behind closed doors that I don't have to pay attention to.
So I was thinking about this. So Korra and Sami have a nice little moment together. They kind of talk about things they've been through, stuff like that. Korra got game, though, I would say this. Korra's like, hey, we should go on vacation together, just me and you. Like, Korra's sly with it.
Smooth AF.
Yeah, yeah, very smooth. Uh, let's go, let's go on this retreat and discover some things about each other. Well, what you say, Korra? Nothing.
No,
Just, no, no.
I said
Just
learn new
go.
things about each other.
Yeah. Uh,
Cora, that was
and
smooth.
then they go and walk into the spirit portal together. Oh, so my thing about the movie, I could see the movie opening up with them like getting married at the spirit portal, and like it just being just like visual wise, a direct continuation right from where they left off.
I don't know. I feel like they
I,
would be an Air Temple Island kind of couple.
nah, they definitely would get married at the spirit portal.
You think so?
They would get, I think so.
We should
The
take a Twitter
spirits would
poll.
come, Iroh would come. Uh, Holy crap, Iroh could come.
You think Iroh gonna come to a wedding? I don't know. That don't sound right.
Yeah, it's the Avatar's wedding.
That would be.
Iroh will officiate it.
Oh man, that's some pretty heavy fan pandering. I don't know how I feel about this
That
idea anymore.
that okay. That is like totally. It's like, how did who officiated your wedding? Oh, so it was my this guy I knew in a past life who reached nirvana and was able to transcend. He was not reincarnated. He decided to just walk through the spirit portal and officiate our wedding.
Drop the lines. You know, Iroh.
Ge-
You ever heard of him?
General of the West, Dragon of the West,
Dragon of the
General of the
West.
Fire Nation, responsible for killing at least hundreds of Earth King, not important.
But once
But
you get
yeah, he
past that,
did.
he's a pretty good ever omnipresent spirit. You know.
Uh, no, that would be very
I
if they had
can't.
Iroh officiating.
I think they're more of a
Okay,
destination wedding couple.
I I who would I like to see at the wedding? I could see Iroh coming to it and talk. I don't know. It'll be fan. It'll sure be fan servicey, without a doubt.
It'd be a
But
really cute way to kick off a movie. I'll give you that. Like
it would be.
how many years down the road? How long do kids
I
date these
imagine
days?
imagine someone watches. Never mind. Anyone who watches the movie would have watched the TV show. But
You know, maybe, but in a weird way, you kind of hope not, right? You hope that it comes out with like a big enough bang and splash that
like,
people.
imagine if someone like it'll be like very Star Wars esque, where you have these force projections of people. Um,
That'd be incredible. Just spirits,
it's
people,
like people
spirits.
who watch Avatar, watches the Korra movie, they're like, "Where the heck did is Iroh a force ghost
Is
now?
is that
Like,
real
where
for?
the how the heck did this happen?
Listen,
When did
this
he
is
die?"
way over my head. I gotta go back and
Yeah.
turn on the old material.
Um, but yes, so it ended with Korra and Asami holding hands, journeying to the spirit world together. And so the first time I watched
Planning their
this,
wedding.
first time I watched this, I so there was talks of Korra Asami before, and like I read on the internet, it's so stupid me, right? I'll read people being like, "Oh, Korra Asami should happen." Me thinking I'm like somewhat progressive. I'm like, why you guys? Anytime you guys see like, so this is me typing in my 2014 days, whatever. Like, why when you just get two strong female characters, dude bros just wanted them to kiss and make out. Like that's who I thought was shipping that's what I thought were the type of people who were shipping Kurosami before. And then I'm looking back, I'm like, wait, no, it was actually probably a lot of people who just wanted to see this representation.
Yep.
So one, I was never I wasn't shipping Kurosami at that point because I uh, admittedly probably saw things through my very heterosexual eye, and when I look back, I do see a lot more things to those kind of calling it out. Um, but I was I was always really cool and great with it. I was really happy to see that representation happens. Uh, even if it's wasn't like a I think a home. Even though I would have liked to have more build up to it. There's build up enough there, but me story wise, I would like to have more, and I think even Mike and Brian would have liked to have more, which I can read their
I
comments, which I have the
mean,
comments about it.
yeah, and yeah, I get one more, but like it just, I don't know, it wasn't necessary for the season. It wasn't the crux of the story that we were being told. It wasn't integral to it. It's like, I'm fine with shipping them with what story we had and knowing that, especially now knowing that we've got more content coming, makes it feel a little easier.
I'm choking on my spit. Anyway, so real quick, Brian, not real quick, because Brian wrote a really long thing that I will try and read fairly quickly about Korosami. The first thing he says that just Korosami is canon. He says you can celebrate it, embrace it, accept it, get over it, or whatever you feel the need to do, but there's no denying it. That is the official story. We received some wonderful press in the wake of the series finale at the end of last week, and just about every piece I read got it right. Korra and Asami fell in love. Were they friends? Yes. Are they still are? Wait, yes. And they still are. But they also grew to have romantic feelings for each other. He goes on to say, was Korrasami Endgame, meaning did we plan it from the start of the series? No, but nothing other than Korra's spiritual arc was. Asami was a du- duplic- duplicitous spy when Mike and I first conceived her character. Then we liked her too much, so we reworked the story to keep her in the dark regarding her father's villainous activities. Varric and Julie weren't originally planned to end up as a couple either, but that's where we took the story, where the story took us. That's how writing works the vast majority of the time. You give these characters life, and then they'll tell you what they want to do. I have bragging rights. As the first course I'm shipper, I win. He put that in quotation marks. Uh, as we wrote book one, as we wrote book one, before the audience had ever laid eyes on Korra and Asami, it was an idea I would kick around the writers' room. At first, we didn't give it much weight, not because we think same-sex relationships are a joke, but because we never assumed it was something we would ever get away with, depending on an animated show for a kids' network in this day and age, or at least in 2010. It goes on to say, Makaro was only in game as far as the end of book one. Once we got into book two, we knew we were going to have them break up, and we never planned on getting them back together. Sorry, friends, I like Mako too, and I'm sure he would be just fine in the romance department. He grew up and learned about himself through his relationship with Asami and Korra, and he's a better person for it. And he'll be a better partner for whomever he ends up with. Once Mako and Korra were through, we focused on developing Korra and Asami's relationship. Originally, it was primarily intended to be a strong friendship. Frankly, we wanted to set most of the romance business aside for the last few seasons. Personally, at that point, I didn't want Korra to have to end up with someone at the end of the series. We obviously did it in Avatar, but even that felt a bit forced to me. I'm usually rolling my eyes when that happens in virtually every action film. Here we go again. It was probably around that time I came across this quote from Miyazaki. And the quote is, I've become skeptical of the unwritten rule that just because a boy and a girl appear in the same feature, romance must ensue. Rather, I want to portray a slightly different relationship, one where the two mutually inspire each other to live. If I'm able to, then perhaps I'll be closer to portraying a true expression of love. I agree with him wholeheartedly. This is Mike Bryan now talking, especially since the majority of the examples in media portray a female character that is a little more than a trophy to be won by the male lead for his daring do. Mako and Korra typical pattern and end up respecting, admiring, and inspiring each other. That is a resolution I am proud of. However, I think there needs to be a counterpart to Miyazaki's sentiment. Just because two characters of the same sets appear in the same story, it should not preclude the possibility of romance between them. No, not everyone is queer. But the other side of the coin is that not everyone is straight. The more Korra and Asami's relationship progressed, the more the idea of romance between them are awesome for us. However, we still operated under this notion, another unwritten rule that we would not be allowed to depict that in our show. So we alluded to it throughout the second half of the series, working in the idea that their trajectory could be heading towards a romance. But as we got close to finishing the finale, the thought struck me, how do I know we can't openly depict that? No one ever explicitly said so. It was just another assumption based on a paradigm that marginalizes non heterosexual people. If we want to see that paradigm evolve, me to take a stand against it. And I didn't want to look back 20 years and think, man, we could have fought harder for that. Mike and I talked it over and decided it was important to be unambiguous about the intended relationship. And dang it, I think there was more, but I did not say that part of it. Um, that was all from Bryan. Mike, who's not as long-winded as Bryan, uh, yeah, just said our intention with the last scene was to make it clear as possible that yes, Korra and Asami have romantic feelings for each other. The moment where they enter the spirit portal symbolizes their evolution from being friends to being a couple. Many news outlets, bloggers, and fans picked up on this and didn't find it ambiguous. For the most part, it seems like the point of the scene was understood and additional commentary wasn't really needed from Bryan or me. But in case people were still questioning what happened in that last scene, I wanted to make a clear verbal statement to complement the show's visual one. I get that not everyone will be happy with the way that the show ended. Rarely does a series finale of any show satisfy the show's fans, so I've been pleasantly surprised with the positive articles and posts I've seen about Korra's finale. I've already read some heartwarming and incredible posts about how this moment means so much for the LGBT community. Once again, the incredible outpouring of support for the show humbles me. As Tenzin says, life is one big bumpy ride. Sorry, I was fine. Big bumpy
It's like you're
ride.
pausing for
And
dramatic
then
effect. Like, what is life, really?
And if by Korra and Asami being a couple, we are able to help smooth out that ride, even a tiny bit for some people, I'm proud to do my part, however small it may be. Anyway, that's it from comments from them. Very long. Sorry for that. And am I back on yet? I should be. Okay. Wait, there we go. Okay. Anyway, so that's all their comments from the Korra Asami aspect of it. Oh crap, we've been recording an hour. At least the last episode was pretty
Yeah,
short.
I mean, as I say, it's the right time for that.
Yeah. So that is Legend of Korra.
Do I talk ratings?
Yeah, let's talk ratings.
Ratings it is.
Okay,
You take yours first.
so you know what? I'll just be blunt about tens all over the board. Audiovisual gave it 10. Jeremy Zuckerman straight killed it this series, this season, this whole property, but he definitely brought his A game in this one. Like there's so much like quiet but great moments in it. And oh man, the last scene is done so beautifully well by Jeremy Zuckerman. Just more praise heaped upon him. The visuals really good. Like I mentioned before, Korra and As well as Airbender are some of the most beautifully animated shows. But also, they're beautifully animated in the quiet moments, especially with between Korra and Kuvira, like that field with like iceberg mountains in the background, but then like purple flowers, and the spirit world just looks beautiful. Uh, oh, and then there's uh, I forget his name, the sound editing guy, the other half of Jeremy Zuckerman's other half. They did a great job with the spirit cannon with that big explosion and Korra um, stopping the spirit cannon. Really beautiful stuff. Story. And this completes the arc of Korra. You can hear me talk more about her saving Kuvira as one of the best moments ever within Legend of Korra. She comes full circle with her character arc. Just a lot of great moments and just a lot of the Legend Core, I think, provides more concrete life lessons than Avatar does. Like when Aang defeated the Fire Lord, sure you can find some deep meaning in there, but I think there's deeper meaning in Korra giving Kuvira. Like it's about being empathetic, about understanding where people come from, walking a mile in the shoes. So story gets a 10 out of 10. Memorable, absolute 10 out of 10. That other things I've talked about with it. So 10, if you can do the math.
Hey, funny story. I had a lot of tens in here as well.
Ooh.
I think, in summary, it's not. I don't know if I'm gonna like. We'll talk about it someday. I'm curious to see scores versus preferences of like seasons, seasons of Korra and Avatar: The Last Airbender. But this is pretty much peak 2D animation meets peak uh, music score meets peak storytelling. Especially
Yeah.
in a finale. And you just read that quote, and it's funny. It's like, how does any finale of any decent TV show like ever make its fans happy? Anyone who stuck with Korra for the long haul was probably. I can't imagine people being too upset with this one. I loved it. I think this is peak Korra.
Mm.
Uh, it was extremely satisfying on all three of those fronts: audiovisual, story, and memorable. No qualms whatsoever. Give it tens across the board, which leaves us with a 10 overall.
Mm. Nice.
But Chris, I do
I
have
like
some
the math.
bad news. This is important.
What is the bad news, Sean?
The Starlight Theater is outside. It's,
Like what?
it's outdoors, man. Look it up. It's
Uh,
weird. Dress light. It's July 23rd. I don't know what we were thinking. We should have looked
why
harder into
is
this.
Starlight Theater outside?
It's by the zoo, and I've never been to the
I
Starlight
guess that's why
Theater.
they call it the Starlight Theater.
I guess that does make sense, but I mean, it looks
That
nice,
doesn't
but
make any sense.
I see some tents, canopies, and things or whatever. But
Is it going to be hot?
I mean, it's Kansas and it's July, so
Yeah.
probably.
Okay.
I'm not saying we
He's
made a
going to be
bad
hot.
choice. I'm saying we maybe
He's going to
made
be
an
like, I'm.
uninformed choice.
How much would you bet he's going to make a joke about it being outside? Like what type of is this?
I hope he
I thought this
does.
was.
Frankly,
I
that
do
will
too.
make me feel better about. Oh, he gets it. He's just like us.
Yeah. You should just went to the. There's another. What's the other theater like by downtown
I mean, there's.
by the
I
anyway,
I
not
don't really
important.
know my downtown stuff at all, but I know like T-Mobile Center is a massive basketball stadium, and Kemper Arena is a
Yes.
decent sized basketball stadium, and there's venues. There's probably like an actual venue for music and comedy that I'm not aware of.
That's so weird.
Yeah.
So
Well, sorry to break the bad
weird.
news, but the good news
Yeah.
is this episode was great. Chris, get a sandwich the bad news in between the good news there. Uh, Final thoughts. I mean, I would say you don't even have to go crazy on the final thoughts for the season, because I would have to imagine we're going to wrap up some season thoughts and or
Yeah, we
series
might do
thoughts,
like we might do like a Legend of Korra retrospective.
or maybe we
So
won't.
coming up, we're
Maybe we'll
definitely
talk about
going.
Teletubbies. We'll talk about whatever we want, but
Won't
probably
won't do
some
that.
kind of retrospective.
Mhm.
I'm trying to think of the least
Also,
absurd thing I could think of, and I'm not sure why that was the first one in my head.
uh, also we'll definitely do an episode ranking every episode of Legend of Korra, and then we'll get to doing rating all the seasons, and then probably rate all the. We'll do a we have all the data now, which I love data. So we'll be able to crunch the numbers, do the analysis on like which show is like better, which had the higher highs, which had the better seasons, how you rank all the seasons across Avatar and Legend of Korra. So we got plenty of episodes coming down the pipeline. This is definitely not talking about Legend of Korra. We this podcast will continue to go for quite I don't
Until we
see its
live close
end
enough to
in
play
sight.
Yu-Gi-Oh again, I suppose.
Yeah.
Full circle.
So we got a lot of stuff. Wait till we do our ships episode. I need to find some another I think I need to reach out to some people.
Be prepared for several weeks of me like reminding you of the importance of like
I should
personal
just email
preference
Jenna I should just
over.
email Jenna Varney to ask if she wants to be on our ships episode.
I think so. I mean, what's the worst that could happen?
She would politely decline.
But then you would have an email from Janet Varney in your inbox.
That's true.
That'd be pretty cool. Like, she doesn't strike me as the type who would have like an assistant or something. Like, she's answering her own emails. She might have a planner,
Yeah.
a helpful.
But also she'll probably ship everything though.
She'd probably be all for it, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, get ready for countless weeks of me like throughout this entire rating process of reminding like preference versus critique, and the fact that my taste and things I enjoy almost never line up with things that are good. Well, hey, that being said, tune in next week to see whatever it is we figured out to do. I have a feeling that next week will be not a crazy one because we'll be like getting ready apparently to apply sunscreen on our way to John Mulaney. So next
Oh,
week
not
probably won't be
me.
too crazy. But yeah, stay tuned to see what we decide to do, what direction we decide to go after this. In the meantime, I'm Shawn Shaler. That's my friend Chris Ford, aka The Objective Geek of YouTube and Twitter. And thank you so much for bearing with us until we finally got to the finale of the show here. It's very exciting. We'll see you next time. Thanks for being here.
Oh crap! Dang it. That's
Different
no.
bobblehead that would have fit this.
Is this paint? Is this?
Your
No, it's
last
paint.
top stand, and it would have been the last stand.